Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Kimberly Ayers. I'm the Assistant Director of Student Accounts at Hartwick College.
I'm Rachel Smith. I'm a Financial Aid Advisor at Portland Community College.
And I'm Kelly Tucker. I'm a Career Advisor at the Savannah College of Art and Design.
We're here today to give you an overview of Student Affairs as a division of higher education institutions. Graduate students studying higher education have the option to study different tracks or concentrations. And this presentation will seek to provide them with an overview or structure, responsibilities, and feedback from those currently in this field and employment prospects.
This presentation seeks to define student affairs,
illustrate ways that student affairs can work with academic affairs,
demonstrate the importance of student affairs in higher education,
examine where student affairs is organized within different institutions,
and describe common hiring practices and qualifications,
and current employment trends and leadership positions within student affairs.
So we want to begin by talking about how student affairs is defined, but there's not a singular definition. Generally speaking, it encompasses services that support and engage students outside of the classroom. It includes both student engagement and student development. Departments that tend to be classified under student affairs include academic advising, admissions, career planning and placement, counseling, discipline and judicial affairs, distance education, financial aid, Greek affairs, international student affairs, new student orientation, residence life and housing, service learning, student activities, student government, student unions, and advocacy and support programs for students of color, students with disabilities, queer students, veterans, women, and more.
Data from Taranzini, Springer, Pascarella, and Nora indicates that students' academic and non-academic experiences both make a positive and significant impact on the development of critical thinking skills and persistence. According to Tinto in 1998, the focus on student involvement and engagement should also be included in the academic setting. Excuse me. This collaboration between what is generally thought of as the realm of student affairs and academic affairs encourages student persistence beyond the first year. By collaborating between student affairs and academic affairs, or staff and faculty, students gain learning communities that promote involvement and validation of these students' experiences while on campus. By building bridges between academic and non-academic involvement, student persistence improves, as do academic.
Next, we need to discuss where student affairs fits into the bigger structure of higher education. All colleges are structured differently, including differences in where student affairs fits in that structure. At Kelly School, Savannah College of Art and Design, student affairs areas all report to the Senior Vice President for Admissions and Student Success. At Hartwick College, where Kimberly works, there are student affairs type functions spread over several different departments, reporting to the VP for Enrollment Management, the VP for Student Affairs, and even some under the Provost and VP for Academic Affairs. Where I work at Portland Community College, the Dean of Student Affairs oversees the departments of Financial Aid, Outreach and Enrollment, International Student Services, Student Records, and Student Systems, while other student affairs offices fall under the Deans of Student Development at each of the college's 4 main campuses.
At Hartwick College, the work between student affairs and academic affairs is crucial to the student's ultimate persistence and degree completion. The bridge to connect those two worlds is the Center for Student Success. The center provides services from tutoring, coordinating the first year experience program, the academic probation program, all the accessibility services for students that have disabilities, and the early alert program for students at risk for transfer or academic struggle. They also work with families to provide resources to them as partners to their student success. As we did learn this semester through the research of Terenzini, Springer, Pascarella, and Nora, students' ability to improve as critical thinkers is influenced most after parental education level by the number of outside classroom books read, that's the world of student affairs, and the number of hours per week studying the world of academic affairs. Though we cannot possibly cover every role and scenario that are present on the organizational charts for our institutions, we'll discuss in summary form our interviews with high-level administrators at our schools. These interviews covered how each person got their role, advice they had for entering professionals, and hiring trends within each of their functional areas.
Peter Goss was only recently hired as the Director of Financial Aid and Veteran Services in January of this year, but has many years of prior director-level experience in the field. Like so many financial aid professionals I've met, Peter fell into this work as a student employee. With a graduate degree in policy management and organization, Peter felt the policy-focused work of financial aid was a natural fit for him. He started as a frontline staff in the University of Oregon Financial Aid Office, and then earned several internal promotions up to the rank of Assistant Director of Financial Aid. He left U of O for a director position at another Oregon university before landing at Portland Community College. While becoming a Director of Financial Aid seems like a very narrow career path, the advice given by my interviewee can be broadly applied to other careers in student affairs. Discussing the day-to-day work, he shared that one of the biggest challenges is navigating the bureaucracy of the institution. He also stressed the importance in leadership of managing your expectations and outward reaction to things. While we didn't specifically discuss hiring practices, Peter was able to give several sound pieces of advice. Be active in your local professional association. Seek out supervisory opportunities, even if they are unofficial. Constantly reevaluate your expectations, strengths, and weaknesses. Find a mentor, even if it is informally. Make connections in other departments and offices. And finally, don't box yourself into a specialty too early in your career until you've had time to explore and find out where your passion really lies.
Kimberly Lopez is the Executive Director of Career and Alumni Success at the Savannah College of Art and Design. After interviewing Kimberly, I learned about the hiring practices, day-to-day skills and challenges, and the future career services as part of student affairs. Kimberly started out with an undergrad degree in journalism. While completing her degree, she took an interest in mentoring and student leadership. She had a mentor who was the Assistant Vice President for Student Success. This mentor identified the leadership and mentorship skill sets that she was crafting and encouraged her to pursue a degree in higher education. After obtaining her master's in education, she obtained a position in the University of Oklahoma as a program specialist within health and wellness. After 3 years, she obtained a position at a small public university as the career services coordinator. It prepared her for the role of career advisor at SCAD. Her supervisor at the time encouraged her to take on more leadership roles. She then progressed to assistant director, which she credits for her readiness when the executive director role became available. As a typical day as executive director is that there's no such thing as a typical day. This means that prioritization is a key skill set that you have to learn and hone and develop. Kimberly believes that the skills needed for the role are leadership, motivating your team, maintaining positive morale, organization, good communication, and of course, collaboration. To help keep up with the trends and topics that are currently going on within career services, Kimberly is a member of the National Association of Colleges and Employers, or NAEP. This organization provides resources for career service professionals, colleges, and employers in the form of webinars, conferences, and workshops. With a demand to see outcomes, especially employment outcomes, career services is serving and will serve a key role in the decision-making process for students and parents. Career services will need to be more relevant to students and how it engages them. Some of the advice that Kimberly had for future career services professionals was be service-oriented, join professional associations, and take on community leadership roles. Learn to create measurable results while considering student impact and student experience. Focus on leadership skill building, time management, collaboration, and prioritization skills. As outcomes are becoming more important, a knowledge of how to collect and report on data that is meaningful is also key.
So interviewing someone that is firmly academic affairs side of the institution when you're planning to do a presentation on student affairs almost seems counterintuitive until you actually sit down with someone like Robin Diana, the Dean of Student Success and Retention. During together, she mentioned the critical piece that she plays in her role as the connection between academic affairs and student affairs. At Hartwick College, the Center for Student Success is a deliberate decision to bridge those two worlds. She has a permanent seat at the Student Affairs biweekly meeting that was at the invitation of the Vice President of Student Affairs. This is to ensure that there's always an open dialogue between those two areas so that each side knows what the other side is doing and make sure that they're able to coordinate and ensure that the students are getting the most out of both worlds. Robin spent her career growing up, per se, in student affairs, and it was only the last 6 years that she's been in academic affairs. She was brought to Hartwick College specifically 6 years ago to create the school's first year experience program. And this was after a career path that has been varied from residential advisor as a student to a residence hall director in graduate school and many other positions along the way. She has worked for public and private schools, and she herself is a product of the New York State University system. She credits her experience in graduate school, especially her internship and externships, as being key to her ability to jump from function area to function area. And during our interview, she actually mentioned that she has jumped a lot and how much that has helped her in her career. Though we focused on student affairs and academic affairs, when we discussed retention and the fact that this issue is faced by many schools nationwide, she was very clear on this point. No matter which side of the institution you're working on, it is the responsibility of all employees for the retention of students and to encourage their persistence and success. And she actually used specific examples. Here at Hartwick, the Commons is the dining hall. Mary is a legend. And whether it's Mary in the Commons or whether it's the custodians in the residence hall, whether it's me in student accounts, whether it's Robin in the Center for Student Success, we all have a responsibility to help our students be persistent, and retention falls on all of us. Robin provided excellent advice to those of us considering a career in student engagement. Her tagline is, "We need to be intrusive without being intrusive." Be available to your students no matter the issue. Homesickness, failed tests, and yes, good news too. Walk into every door you possibly can. Don't say no. If we're offered a chance to shadow an internship, even if it's only a day in a different functional area, take advantage of it. Learn all we can about everything that we can. Focus on assessment. We need to know how assessment is used to make changes, how it's used to make improvements, how it's used to find and create resources. And if we don't know how to do data analysis, then we need to find somebody that can do it for us. Learn about supervision. She wishes that people had emphasized that more to her. And if you become a supervisor, never ask your staff to do something you would not do. The Center for Student Success has a caseload of students, and Robin's staff has a caseload of students. She has the same number of students to see as her staff. She never asks them to do anything that she wouldn't do herself. The real world experience and advice provided to us by Peter, Kimberly, and Robin will be critical to those that consider student affairs as a career path. However, what is the outlook for employment and what are employers looking for? Finally, what salary can someone expect to earn if they choose this path? The Journal of College Development reported on a survey done in April 2000 at the ACPA conference in Washington, D.C. Employers were asked to rate, on a scale of 1 to 6, 17 items based on their level of importance when deciding who to bring in for an interview. The top 5 items were relevant internship experience and graduate program, a master's in student personnel, student affairs, demonstrated helping skills, personal commitment to diversity, practicum experience while in graduate school. While these items were ranked most important in a survey, I think it is important to point out something Robin stated during her interview. When she is hiring someone, if they get to the interview stage, they obviously have the skills and work experience on their resume. What she wants to see and hear is how will that person be able to work with a student. Skills can be taught, but empathy, understanding, and patience cannot. So it's important to gain the knowledge and experience that employers will be looking for while keeping in mind that student affairs requires a certain temperament and personality. And if you do not possess those traits, student affairs may not be the best track for you.
According to Higher Ed Jobs Annual Employment Report for 2014, student affairs job postings tend to peak between June and August, decline through December, and then rise starting from January to the summer. This reflects typical patterns in higher education hiring. Salaries in student affairs, according to the Chronicle of Higher Education in 2016, show that there is a diverse range of salary that is dependent on the role in student affairs. The lowest, of about $32,000, was for a resident director, with room and board included, and the highest being the deputy head for student counseling at $70,000 per year. For executive or senior level positions, the range is even greater, with the lowest being that of chief student activities administrator, and the highest being chief student affairs or student life officer at $53,000 and $142,250 respectively. These are all national and institutional averages.
To conclude, let us take a minute to recap what we hope you take away today. Advice for aspiring student affairs professionals. First, get comfortable with data. Data-driven assessments and outcomes are the focus of changes and improvements in student affairs. Also, foster relationships with other departments and with leaders who can mentor you. And finally, develop your leadership skills and accumulate experience. Internships, assistantships, supervisory opportunities, professional association involvement, and job shadows are all extremely valuable.
Employment opportunities in student affairs come in waves. Many openings are typically posted in the summer as departments get ready for the new academic year. The peak times are June through August, and salary range is dependent on position and department. So if you are looking for a student affairs job, make sure that you do focus on those peak times.
There are many divisions in higher education that all need to work together to allow a student to experience a complete and successful journey to their diploma. As higher education faces challenges such as attracting and retaining the best students now and in the future, student affairs and its subdivisions have a critical role in helping meet those challenges head on. Those that are considering a career in student affairs will face certain employment issues and should be prepared for the hiring world they face. We hope that aspiring leaders in student affairs find this information useful in their future endeavors. And if you have questions, we'd be happy to answer them now.
Okay, wow. Just a few comments and then I'll have some questions for you. That was absolutely terrific. It was clear to me that you were very well prepared and did some research. You got into the literature about the importance of out-of-class experiences and critical thinking, student engagement. You looked at your own institutional models for differences and similarities and common themes, and you made excellent use, I thought, of your interview data. and just wonderful graphics. In fact, I want to visit each of your institutions now that you've given me a glimpse of what they're like, and to see you in person in action in terms of what you're doing. So yeah, and the graphics, the graphics were good, and I thought adding a picture of the image of the person that you interviewed kind of brought that interview data to life for me. I don't know if that was your intention, but it personalized it in a way that it was almost as if I was hearing the person speaking to you during the interview as you were recapping your interview data and what you learned. So, and most people don't do that, but I thought that was very effective as a way to convey the data and to personalize it as well. So just in terms of the presentation, outstanding. And I appreciate that you took the time to prepare, and you probably rehearsed this a couple times before the formal presentation. So I think in terms of the value of this to your classmates, it will be extremely valuable and helpful to them as they think about student affairs, and in particular this important issue of the crossover between what happens in academic affairs and what happens with faculty in the classroom, and then the importance of out-of-class experiences and the critical role that staff play. And I think that's really, I don't know if you feel undervalued or unappreciated somewhat at your institution. You're not alone if you feel that a little bit, because we tend to be in higher education very faculty focused. But, as you've gotten to know faculty, that they're kind of idiosyncratic people, and they're pretty focused on their discipline. They're experts in their field, and they're not really experts about students. And I think that's the value. Not that they're not interested, but it's a matter of time, and they really may not have the skill set. They're not trained to work with students. That's just the nature of how we prepare faculty and faculty life. And they may be engaged in research or other kinds of pursuits. That tends to be true more in research universities than in institutions like yours, I would say. But I think it highlights the importance of the student affairs function and the critical role that staff play in that. So my first question, I'd ask each of you to respond to this, would be, as you conducted this research and shared with each other, did your feelings about the role of student affairs and the staff position and the competencies and skill sets and attributes that are required, did it change any as a result, or did it more confirm what you've already know and experienced as a working professional? So anything kind of what I would call aha moments. Well, it was interesting. I didn't really appreciate that until I had talked to that person or heard the interviews from others in your group. So maybe, Kelly, do you want to start? And we can just go Kelly, Rachel, and then Kim.
Okay. I think it really reaffirmed things that I had already discussed. I have a very open relationship with the person that I interviewed. So we talk a lot about student affairs and the role of my department. And I'm always interested in her take on what is the future. And actually, I just interviewed for the assistant director position in my department. I felt like it really reaffirmed the idea I had about career services, and then listening to what Kim and Rachel had to say really just reaffirmed what I believe how important student affairs is within the whole context of higher education.
Very good.
My kind of aha moment was really just getting that definition of student affairs, and also that I wasn't completely lost in being confused about which departments were student affairs, because it's pretty inconsistent. At my school, we had a VP of Student and Academic Affairs until about a year ago. They split them into two departments. And so I wasn't ever really clear what the difference was and how our department really related to some of the other departments that fell under student affairs. Financially, it can feel kind of siloed. We don't get out and mingle with other departments a lot. We have a lot of data processing to do, and so we're not really out there interacting a lot. And so really just getting a better sense of that bigger picture of student affairs and how we fit into that was really helpful.
Very good. And Kim?
Well, for me, it really reaffirmed for me, because the whole reason I even decided to apply to graduate school and start graduate school was because of a discussion that I had with Rob and Diana. She had an opening in her center. Her assistant director left for a position at RPI. And so I reached out to her and I said, what's going to happen when you go to replace Chad? And there's no replacing Chad, obviously, but he's one of a kind. But, and I said, what will you be looking for? And so she sends me an email back, and she lists all these amazing, wonderful qualifications. And she says to me, and you meet all of them confidentially. Are you interested? Oh, by the way, I'm looking for somebody with a master's degree. And I said, okay, well, you had me until you got to master's degree. Mm-hmm. And so I called her and I said, well, what do you think though? Like, what do you think about me, pursuing this? And she was like, oh my goodness, I really think that this would be like, so she's been someone that she's been my sounding board. She's been the person that I trust. She's the person I sent my mission statement to read it before I submitted it. And so she's been the person that helps me, understand how these worlds mesh. I understand Hartwick is a little different. We're kind of small with 1,500 students when we're at maximum. So, sometimes those worlds do have to be a little bit smaller. So it was nice for me to see a little bit different perspective. Our financial aid is firmly under enrollment management, and they have their own vice president. Our student affairs vice president is, not anywhere near the financial aid folks, and so it was nice to see the perspective from other schools as well.
Okay, great. I was happy that you picked someone within your institution to interview. And my sense is that you probably knew that person, obviously, but when you conduct an interview and you learn more about that individual, your relationship tends to be stronger as a result of that experience. So I hope that's the case with each of you, that person, becomes kind of a go-to person for you, if not a mentor, certainly somebody you can go back to and ask advice on an ongoing basis. So I hope that the assignment helped you to strengthen that relationship. So the other thing I thought you did very well at the end was to summarize what the qualifications, what are people looking for objectively for a student affairs position, either entry-level position or advancement. And you did highlight, and Kim, you mentioned this, the importance of the master's degree in higher ed or student personnel or student affairs. And, to be honest with you, that's a fairly recent development. I would say within the last 10 to 15 years. I would say, probably 20, 25 years ago, you could get an entry-level position. If you were active on campus, you were a student leader, maybe you went out for some experience post-graduation, but you could get a job within student affairs without the master's degree. So this is a fairly recent development. So I wanted to get each of you to indicate what you see right now, based on your limited exposure to the M.Ed program, what you see as the value. And be as honest as you can. You may not see any value. That's okay to say too. Or I want to wait and see how this is really going to help me. But I want you to share a little bit about what you hope the master's degree in higher ed will do for you, either personally or professionally. It's kind of what you hope to get out of this program, besides just the paper credential at the end of 30 credits. What are you hoping to get out of our program? That would be very valuable for me to know, but it might be good for you to kind of think about that as you think about your program of study and kind of where you go from here, and Are you going to persist in this degree program? We hope that you are. But just a little reflection about that. And Kim, maybe we can start with you since you share the why that's important in your career progression.
Sure. You know, it's funny. One of the things, we just had our assessment forum, our annual assessment forum here at the college, and in the past it's always been each department would stand up. They would usually pick like 4 departments to stand up and basically read to us the data for the past year. And admissions would get up and say, we had this many applications, and this is our funnel, and this is where we're, and you know, and that was great, but you know, and then you know, mathematics would get up and they would talk about their tests and how the students did. But the problem was that you're talking to a very broad audience that you know weren't necessarily well versed on assessment, and I'm one of them. As far as you know, being able to do assessment, and so this year's assessment forum was looking at becoming excited about assessment. And this summer, I'm taking the institutional research class, and that is something that I know I will get out of the master's program that I would not have looked to on my own, probably, because it's so outside my wheelhouse. Now, current experience, I haven't gotten it yet out of the 2 classes so far, but a little bit I have of understanding, you know, the history, obviously, of higher ed and how we've gotten to where we're at. You know, Dr. Ford's class doing the 10 generations of higher ed and all of that. But the one thing I'm looking forward to getting out of the program is understanding where our students are coming from, how they're developing and socially and emotionally, and that's part of the reason why Dean Diana wants someone with a master's, because they've taken those classes that will expose them to how the college student is, the undergrad is developing and what they're facing and how they are dealing with it. And so that's what I'm looking forward to getting out of the program. But what I've gotten so far out of the program is more confidence in myself and the decision that I make. So.
Great. That's wonderful. That's what we hope. I hope you get out of this course. You take a sense that you can do this graduate level work, and you have a sense of direction going forward. And Kim, I think we'll do that. The student development theory part of the curriculum in the students course, 556 course. I think some in the advising course, and I know Karen Paulson's working on a student affairs course, general student affairs course. So those 3 courses will really form kind of the cornerstone of the student engagement, student affairs area of emphasis in the program. So I think there'll be opportunities for you to get that really good content in that area. Very good. Thank you for sharing. Okay, Rachel?
I think my reflection about the presentation is representative of kind of how I'm feeling about the program. Just that my experience is so limited in financial aid that already just learning so much about that bigger picture, getting a better sense of how the different departments interact. And there's departments that our office doesn't interact with at all, and getting a sense of, you know, what else is out there, how the college is operating. And I think that's a big piece of it. Part of it, obviously, is just getting the credential after being on several hiring committees for leadership positions. I was on the hiring committee for the director that we just hired for our own department. You know, we look at these and go, well, this one doesn't have a master's degree, and it's, you know, no thank you.
Yes.
So that is a part of it.
And I don't mean to diminish.
And I'm excited to learn things that I don't know that I don't know.
Yes.
That there's so much out there that when I'm learning it, I'm realizing like I just didn't even know this information was out there. I never thought about it. So just a different perspective on the higher education system as a whole.
That's terrific. Yeah, I'm hoping, one of our learning outcomes is probably not as stated as clearly, but it's really to give you the big picture of higher education. And that's what you should get out of the 545 course, is this sense of history, tradition, and then with the administration course, kind of how to think strategically and how all the parts of an institution are designed, hopefully, to work together to the benefit of the student and the enterprise. But that idea of, what I would call strategic thinking too. You can see the big picture and think not only about your own individual unit in financial aid, but how all that contributes and is a critical part of the higher education service to students. So we hope that that'll be the outcome. But I would say too that just getting the credential, it's a significant accomplishment, if nothing but a testimony to your dedication of time and resources and energy to this accomplishment. And it says something about you, which is why people are looking and say, well, you don't have a master's degree. Maybe you don't have the level of commitment that we're looking for, or the energy or the enthusiasm or the dedication or understanding. So it should give you that. But if you get nothing out of the program but the piece of paper, that is something something to be proud of. But we hope you get so much more. So thanks so much for sharing. Okay, and Kelly?
Okay. So playing off of that, what I was hoping to get out of the program and what I've kind of already started getting is the ability to think strategically, to apply critical thinking skills to the processes that we already use in my office and in the bigger picture. My end goal is to be in an administrative role. I love working with students and I want to be as useful a resource to my students as possible, but at the same time, I want to have it be more big picture than individual at the same time. So far, just learning more about higher education and coming from such a different background, with fine arts and design as my background, this has been invaluable so far. And yes, I too want to get my piece of paper, but it's more, I want to be as valuable a resource to my institution as possible.
Great. I mean, the other thing I'd say about the master's degree is that you are an expert in this field, just like the faculty are an expert in their discipline. You'll find faculty really don't understand or appreciate much about the institution. They just are good at expressing frustration when things aren't working or when a student has a problem they can't solve, and they tend to blame perhaps other parts of the institution. But I think it does give you credibility, right, within your institution, in terms of participating on task forces, maybe with faculty or administrators, and feel free to speak up then about your area of expertise, because you know the research and the literature about student success and organizational effectiveness, and Kim, the use of data for decision making, which you'll get in the IR course or courses if you take more than one of the IR sequence. So no, that's terrific. So let me just end up then with asking you to reflect just on this process of putting this presentation together and working together as a group. Any lessons learned about that collaboration? Any positive thoughts or things that didn't work well that maybe next time you might change or do differently? So any reflections? And Kelly, maybe we can start with you.
Okay, I think the main thing was just working with all of our schedules. We have very different schedules. Some of us are in different time zones, but we made it work. And we communicated through Google Hangouts because that's what we were familiar with. And I think in general, maybe checking in more with each other every once in a while probably would have been a good idea. But we worked very well in a team. And it was a pleasure working with you too. I can't even begin to describe how much of a pleasure it was.
Great. Okay, Rachel?
I think it was really useful that we identified early on which tools we were going to use to collaborate. Using Google Hangouts was great because it gave us an audio or video or just a typing chat option, you know, here and there. And then using Google Docs to collaborate was really useful. Being able to work live together on documents, work live together on the slides. I can't imagine how we would have done that just like trying to email each other a version of a PowerPoint back and forth. But it was really nice to have this kind of living document that we could adjust as we needed.
Good.
Yeah, I thought it went really well. I felt like I was the one that was a little bit challenging sometimes because I am in the other time zone, and I've got really little kids, and so and a small house. So if the kids are awake, I'm completely unavailable.
I understand. Well, you made it work. Wonderful. And Kim?
Yeah.
Kim, any final thoughts?
As that, because I felt like, especially as we got down to the end, I was dealing with accepted student day, and then my niece who lives with me, prom dress shopping for her, and so we had like, you know, it was a weekend, and it was crunch time, and I have like all these commitments, these family commitments and work commitments, and I'm like, you know, but we found a way to make it work, and you know, I have to say we were blessed to have Kelly as part of this team. Her ability to visualize, to pull these slides, the visual work that she does is just stunning. That is her wheelhouse, you know, and so we were blessed to have her as part of our team. But I was blessed to work with both of these ladies. We were a good team. You know, when we did the exercise, the one assignment where we had to watch the team that just wasn't working well,
Yes.
it was nice that wasn't our team.
Yes.
You know, nobody took charge. Nobody sat back. And even when there was a time where I said, I feel like I'm not contributing enough, you know, and to get feedback that said, wait a second, you know, yes, you are. And so it was a good working environment. I agree, using the Google tools was great, because even when we were doing our run-throughs and our practices, you could see us editing the documents as we were doing the practice. You know, if we changed what we wanted to say, we would turn around and we would make the change as we were doing the practice. And so it was nice to have those documents up and running. And again, you know, it's what makes the online learning environment so much easier. When you have someone who's on the other side of the country, he still made it work, you know, and you know, I feel honored to have worked with these two ladies. They taught me a lot.
Wonderful.
It worked out nicely that we're all three in the 545 class together too. So it gave us an opportunity when we needed to talk about some of that.
Yes. Well, I hope that works, you know, particularly if you're taking both courses at the same time, that that's what I call a learning team, because then you can debrief on each week's assignment or compare notes or raise questions, that kind of thing. The other thing I hope that, you know, by doing it this way, having this assignment, is that you get to know a couple people in the class a little bit better. And you get a sense of that from the discussion boards, but it's all, you know, kind of informal and or non-personal. And this is very personal. If you're using Google Hangouts and you have these synchronous conversations throughout the semester, then you just get to know each other. And then you have to work together. That's where you really get to know each other. And you have to pull something together for a major project presentation as well. But I hope, you know, that the relationships that you've established will continue, hopefully throughout the program. And if you go along at the same pace, maybe you'll go to graduation together here in State College and see each other in real time. But you know, I think one of the things we try to do with online learning is not only have, the synchronous opportunity, which allows us to cross time zones. We've had students in Afghanistan, Rachel, and Abu Dhabi and China. And so we've really been challenged with this, and they've been able to work it out somehow with the time zone differences and even the presentation. And the other feedback we've gotten from students that are kind of going into this assignment is they dread it because they've had some negative experience with a group project before, either as an undergraduate student or graduate student, and it was terrible, it was a disaster. So, but invariably this has turned out to be positive for students. And you gave us further validation of that today. Just an outstanding presentation and wonderful contribution, be very valuable for your classmates as well. And I just want to congratulate each of you for completing this course. You've actually finished this assignment ahead of time, so I applaud you for that. But each of you have really embraced the course, and I think Kelly, for you is probably a little redundant because you know a lot about career development, so all the stuff we did on careers may have just been additional stuff for you.
It's still good practice.
Yeah, and maybe it's different when you do it for yourself as opposed to providing it that advice for others. Hopefully. But each of you did just outstanding work in every assignment, and it's been a pleasure to get to know you. And I wish you every success as you go forward. And I'm retiring, but I'll be available, so you can always reach out to me if I can give you any advice at all. That's kind of my mission in life now is to do that, and any way that I can help you, I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
So it's
Well,
been
thank
a
you.
pleasure to spend time with you this afternoon. You made my day. So I'll let you go on to your work day, but thank you so much for sharing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, take care now.
Take care.